Okay. Okay. This never goes as smoothly as I want it to, and I've done this a couple times now, and somehow it's just a little clunky every time, Balto. Good morning. Come with me to hypermile my 20-year-old Toyota Sequoia. So, what is hypermiling and why am I doing it? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm not an expert on hypermiling, but hypermiling to me is adjusting your driving habits and your vehicle to maximize fuel economy. So, that's what I'm doing in my 20-year-old Toyota Sequoia. Don't get me wrong, it can be done. But when you think hypermiling and maximizing fuel economy, you probably don't think of a 20-year-old V8 body-on-frame SUV. You probably think of a Honda Civic, a Toyota Corolla, a Prius. And literally take your pick of any economy car. What I'm trying to do is maximize the fuel economy for my vehicle because I am going to be living and traveling out of my 20-year-old Toyota Sequoia. I want to know just how far I can push a tank of gas because that will greatly determine how far I can travel and how I travel and the pace that I travel at. So let's get things straight. First things first, what do you do to hypermile your car? Well, people do all sorts of things. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you're not driving aggressively, like at this red light, that we accelerate nice and slowly. But people do all sorts of things. People, you make sure that your tires are properly inflated. Some people will overinflate their tires to reduce rolling resistance. You want to eliminate extra weight in your vehicle. Oh my God, you want to not make any sudden stops. You want to not make any sudden stops. You also want to make sure your dog isn't breathing hot down the back of your neck. Alto. A lot of modern cars today have active grille shutters to reduce wind resistance. A lot of people, people who are extreme with it, will literally tape the seams on their door to reduce air drag. I'm not doing any of those things. So I'm sure, as you can see, my car is pretty packed. I'm driving home for a week, so I had to pack a lot of stuff. I had to pack him, and I'm also bringing my mattress to a friend. So we've got a lot of extra weight in our car. That's already working against us. We're only going to hypermile part of the trip. I am by no means going to hypermile this entire 13-hour road trip, but I've got a lot of time to kill, so I might as well use some of that to figure this all out. So we're going to stop and get coffee. We're going to stop and get gas. I'm going to make sure that my tires are properly inflated, and then we're going to get this test on the road. So, what kind of fuel economy does my car get already? Well, the EPA says it gets about 15 to 17 miles per gallon, depending on if you're driving city or highway. These are also estimates from when the car was brand new. So we've got that working against us. I've also lifted the vehicle and I have all-terrain tires on it, and I have a roof box and all this extra weight. So typically when I'm driving on the highway, I get about 13 to 14 miles per gallon. I'm hoping to squeeze that to 17. That's bold wishful thinking. Why didn't I remove the weight? Well, I want a realistic example of what my fuel economy is going to be like, what I can maximize it even with all this added weight, because when I'm traveling, I'm going to have it all with me. So I live in Texas, and my whole entire family lives in Florida, and I've made this same trip several times. I want to go to Florida to see family, but I don't want to fly because I have him. And every time I do this trip, I've done it several times now, it's 14 to 15 hours every single time. You lose an hour because of the time change. So it's just a really long day. And every time I go on this trip, I try to do my best to in the beginning I'm trying to maximize and get there as quick as possible. But I love road trips and I love being in the car, and I go through this whole process every time where I have to remind myself that you're on the trip, and the trip is part of it all. The trip is part of the trip. Getting there is part of the trip. And it's a really really good thing to remember because, you know, this is once he calms down, which does happen eventually. It's a really nice time. I get to listen to audiobooks, I get to listen to music, I get to think about life, and that's one thing that I really like about road trips is you've got nothing but time with your thoughts. And I know that's scary to some people, but I don't know. I really enjoy it. I'm very comfortable and at peace in my own mind. Full disclaimer, if you see any footage of my tachometer ever and you see the seatbelt light flashing, I promise my seatbelt is on, but my seatbelt sensor does not work. Trust me, I've tried yanking my seatbelt out. I promise you my seatbelt is on right now, but for whatever reason, the sensor sometimes doesn't work, and then I'll jiggle the seatbelt. Watch this. Jiggling the seatbelt, and it's gone. Right, so we are actually pulling up to a Love's. I was going to go to Buc-ee's, but I honestly prefer Love's coffee. So we're going to stop here. We're going to get fuel, coffee, fill up the tires, and then we'll get this thing started. Fuel pop. Okay, so update, we got gas, we got gas, we got coffee. I feel like some Loves are like hit or miss. Like, I love a Loves. I love a Loves. Loves, please sponsor me. But some of them are just really sketchy, and I got one of the sketchy ones. Some of them are really nice. Some of them are very nice. This one, not so much. So now, after realizing that the Love's tire pump is broken at this sketchy Love's, pulling out my car battery powered air pump, pumping up all my tires painstakingly to 36 PSI per tire, exactly to the dot, and then checking it with my own separate tire gauge and idling the car for about 20 minutes, we are now back on the road. And I have coffee. And I'm too pissed off to drink it. So, what are the good news here? So, I also have a tire gauge up here, or not a tire gauge. I also have a fuel MPG gauge in my car, but I have no idea how accurate it actually is. So as you can see right now, I'm so embarrassed to show you. I've been getting about 11.8 miles to the gallon on average, just in like typical daily driving. So what we're gonna do is reset it. And of course, we're starting off strong at a red light. This is the longest red light ever. Oh, that coffee's really good. Thank God I got this coffee. It's really hitting the spot. So I got up at 2:30 and it is now 4:30 and I'm still in Houston. And this happens every time, and like I said, I have to remind myself, it's not about how quick we get there. Like, we're gonna get there when we get there. By the end of today, when I lay down my head at night, I will be where I need to be, and that's all that matters. Okay, so like I said, what we're aiming for right now is 17 miles to the gallon as best as we can do it. Will we get there? I have no idea, but we're definitely gonna try. Balto, it's okay. Hopefully Balto calms down. He usually does on road trips. We've just been doing a lot of finagling with all of our situations. So we are gonna try this test for 2 hours. 2 hours, I am going to drive at 60 highway speed. And it's honestly about as fast as I want to go with these all-terrain tires. I hate the vibrating noise that you get at higher speeds with some all-terrain tires. These Toyo Open Countries definitely have that. So yeah, we're just gonna wait and see what happens. But I've got my cruise control set to 60 miles an hour. I don't have any AC on. It is 49 degrees outside. I don't have the heat on either. I just have some air blowing in, but I run hot, so I'm pretty comfortable as is. Obviously have to have the headlights on. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll check back in about an hour. Officially 1 hour halfway through our 20-year-old Toyota Sequoia hypermile super official unofficial road test. And what I can say so far is that I am very cold. I am so cold. It's 48 degrees right now, so it's not like freezing, but I'm wearing a t-shirt and then like this thick flannel, and it's not enough. And I don't have the heat on. I have no idea if, I know like running the AC turns on the compressor, so that would decrease fuel economy. Honestly, I don't know how heat works in a car. So I'm not sure if running the heat is going to affect fuel economy, so I haven't done it yet. So all I want some airflow, so I just have the fan on and just on the coldest setting, so it's not heating, it's not cooling, it's just bringing in whatever the air is on the outside. Hi, Balto. Balto woke up because the light's on now. He was sleeping. I wish I could be sleeping though. Soon it's going to be his turn to drive, and then I'll get to sleep. So right now I'm not peaking at the fuel economy gauge that is right next to my sunroof. I just have it set to show the outside temperature, so I want to see, once we refuel, how accurate the gauge is. So we'll get, we'll do the actual math of, gas used divided by miles driven, and then we'll also look at the fuel economy gauge. That way we can get a look at, what are the actual numbers showing us, and then what is the computer in this 20-year-old car telling me that I'm getting to. I'm not very hopeful, honestly. 60 miles an hour is right at 2,000 RPMs. The first generation Toyota Sequoia before the facelift in 2005, so I have a 2004, it just had a 4-speed automatic. So I've only got 4 gears. I do have overdrive, obviously, just like any modern transmission. But that 2005 model year got variable valve timing, but it also got a 5-speed automatic. I'm assuming my miles per gallon isn't going to be exactly what I wanted. So new goal, I'm hoping to get 16.5 miles per gallon on the highway at 55 to 60 miles per hour. I'm starting to feel that calm, cool, and relaxed feeling that I feel on most road trips, which is that like, really it's just you and the road ahead. I don't know, I think road trips for me, just they give me a lot of time to think. I mean, I feel like daily life, there's so much structure and routine around just all of the things that you have to do in a day. You have to work. I work out every morning. You just have that. You can't look at your phone while you're in the car driving. So it's a really nice change of pace for me, because you're forced to just sit and concentrate. It's almost a meditative practice. You can practice on just concentrating on the road ahead, and to me, that's something really special that you just don't get in daily life. Every time I do this road trip back home to Florida, I honestly look forward to it. And people ask me all the time, that's a really long drive, don't you ever want to break it up, or don't you ever want to bring someone with you to like drive with you? And honestly, no. There are very few times in your life where you feel like you're not being pulled in a million different directions. But like when I get in the car to go on a road trip, you only have one goal in mind, and that one goal is to get from point A to point B. And if you're doing that, that's the one thing that you have to do the entire time. I feel like often in our lives we're pulled and so many different directions, and you've got your phone ringing, and you've got work things to do, and you've got, daily, just things you have to do around your house, and this is the one time for most people when you're driving that the only goal is to keep driving and focus on the road. Focus. You hear people talking all the time about self-driving cars and how, you'll be able to sleep on road trips and you'll just wake up and you'll be at your destination. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're just going to find a way to use that time to squeeze out that much more productivity. I think we have an attention problem, but we also have an intention problem in today's society. We're looking for that dopamine hit, and so what we naturally want to do is we just grab for our phone. We're looking for that distraction. We're looking for a cheap thrill, And I heard this on a podcast the other day. We're looking for a thrill when we're just trying to chill, and I just think that's so true. Like, when you are on your phone, scrolling through social media or watching TV, like, it feels kind of relaxing, and I don't even know what I'm looking for. Like, next time you scroll on social media, think about that. Like, when you open the app, ask yourself, what am I looking for? Like, what's my goal here? And your goal is like, it's almost like you're hunting for something. Like, you're hunting, because you have no idea what the next feed post is going to be, and it's almost like gambling. Like, you're swiping, hoping that you get a good video. And these algorithms are really good at making us think that a slightly more entertaining video is just around the corner. And the irony isn't lost on me that I'm literally recording a video right now that's going to be posted on social media. But I guess the goal for my videos, and what I've always wanted is, I want you to feel like you're with me, but I also hope that you feel inspired to go do these things for yourself. Like, I hope that you see this video and you're inspired to go on a road trip, and you're inspired to take your dog with you, because sure, it slows you down, but I think we need a lot more of that. We need to slow down. So anyways, that was a really long tangent for our main goal here, which is trying to figure out what the maximum fuel economy is that I can get out of my car that is fully loaded, fully lifted. I have a roof box. I don't know how this is going to go, but we got one more hour. We're just doing a 2-hour road test. Hopefully by then the sun will be up and we can take a look at the results. See you guys soon. Pulling into the Loves right now. It's very busy Loves. Much nicer than the first one we started at. So let's see how we did. Okay. Oh my God. It's fucking cold out. Super cheap here. All right, so the moment of truth. Let's see what the gauge is telling me we got. All right, 16.4. That's honestly not that bad. I was hoping for 17, but realistically, I was thinking I was going to get about 16.5. So 16.4, I would call that a win. But we still definitely want to actually crunch the numbers and see what the actual numbers are telling us. That way we can also see how accurate this gauge is. I made a small mistake. I did not set my trip odometer when we left the last gas station. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my GPS and like reverse route it back to the gas station that we started at. And then we will divide that by how many gallons of gas we just used, and we'll see if it's at about 16.4. What's up, everyone? It's Drew from the future. We left the gas station. Balto got fueled up. I got fueled up. The car got fueled up. Now it's time to dig into the numbers. So my gauge said 16.4 miles to the gallon. Now, my camera battery died, so I had to start recording on my iPhone, which is why you see like a little bit different of an angle. So I had to do the calculations and then start recording. So I was hoping to get something similar to 16.4, but the numbers that I got were very different. And honestly, they were so different at first that I thought I did something wrong. Like I thought that I miscalculated something. I thought that I did the mileage wrong, but I verified my location at the first gas station with a photo that I took, and then I verified my location at the next gas station that I took with another photo that I took when I was trying to document exactly how many gallons that I used for reference for when I did these calculations when I'm back on the road. So 16.4 is what the gauge said. I drove 132 miles and I used 9.248 gallons of fuel. That's not that great. In fact, it's vastly different from the 16.4 that my gauge said. It equals out to about 14.3 miles to the gallon. Ooh, this is about to be an expensive road trip. So here's the thing, when I was at the first gas station, if you recall, I had to fill up my tires, and the tire pump at the gas station was broken, so I had to use my own. My air compressor is powered by my car's battery. So in order to make sure that my car battery didn't die, because I'm just really paranoid about that, because I don't want to get stranded somewhere, I left the car on idle the entire time that I was just filling up my tires. That took me about 15 to 20 minutes to undo everything, to get it out of the roof box, to pull it out, to hook it up, to get the cable out, to hook the cable in, to check the pressure on each and every tire, because I really wanted to make sure, one, that my tires were properly inflated before a 13-hour road trip, but also two, that I was maximizing fuel economy. It's a cold morning and I wanted to make sure that none of the tires were underinflated. I wanted to make sure, given that we're going on this road trip, that everything was filled up, and for the sake of the experiment, I put everything at 36 PSI. All of that testing and repressuring and stuff took me about 15 minutes, maybe 20, honestly, if I'm being honest. And the car was running that entire time. Once I finished filling up my tires, the car was still running. I put everything up back in my roof box, my garage, where all my tools are. And that's when I left the gas station. And when I got to the first red light, which was like a block away, to the intersection to get back on the highway, that's when I reset my fuel gauge on the actual car. So the difference between the two numbers is actually just the time and the fuel spent in idle. That's crazy. Now, obviously, these averages are vastly different because we only took a very small sample size. We only drove 132 miles. We were only in the car for about 2 hours. So when you think about it like that, like had I continued doing this and continued this test for the entire 13-hour road trip, which I think is about 700 or 800 miles, I'm sure that would have averaged out to be a lot closer than a whole 2 miles to the gallon different. But that also just goes to show, don't idle your car. Like, idling your car is the death of your fuel economy. And that's one of the biggest behaviors that I can modify. So given that I can't actually hypermile my car, I have all these limitations that I have to work around, one of the things that I am in control of is idling my vehicle. So, lesson learned, I'm not idling this thing ever if I don't need to.
I know that I can do all of this in a more fuel-efficient vehicle. I know that I don't need this much space, but at the end of the day, I have a full-size dog. I have things to carry with me, and I want to be comfortable. I'm making a sacrifice in my mind by not getting a van, by not getting a camper trailer. So this is the smallest I can have while still being comfortable. Like I said, lesson learned. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye.